There has been a secret hiding in the game of Earthbound for 25 years, a secret subplot that was only dusted over in the actual game, a series of events that almost made all of Ness's fighting a moot point. But I've done some digging and I found what almost stopped the four heroes from even having a chance at reaching Gygas. Get ready to have your mind blown. Hey guys, Ben Sleevey here, back with another Earthbound theory video. If another one of my videos have brought you here, welcome back. If this is your first time here, I'll link other videos in the description. I'll be referencing a few of them through this video. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button and I will promise to deliver them. Now this video contains a good amount of spoilers. If you haven't played the game through entirely, you might want to do that and then come back to this. Alright, everyone clicked off that wanted to? Okay. Here we go. We all know the plot of the game. One random night in 1990X, a meteorite crash landed on a hill in Onett, shaking the local. The meteor acted as sort of a time machine vessel for a brave warrior named Buzz, who traveled from 10 years in the future to warn a simple boy, our protagonist Ness, about the impending doom of the world. From there, Buzz and Ness, with neighbors Porky and brother Picky, make their way back home. Suddenly, they pass a small group of trees. An alien being appears. It is Starman Jr., and he tells them that he'd followed Buzz through time and space to stop him from foiling his master's plan. The battle ends in our favor, but only a short time later, Buzz is struck down by Porky's mother, who mistakes him for a dung beetle. Those couple events set the rest of the game in motion. Ness is tasked to find 3 other kids to team up with and gather 8 melodies in order to gain power of the Earth to defeat Gygas. Everyone on the same page? Well, not so fast. There is another entity that has come into existence before the beginning of the game. You've known of it, but what it is exactly will surprise you. And I'm talking about the Manny Manny statue. Okay, let's back up a bit. As you first walk up towards the meteorite, before you reach it, and then again after, Liar X Exaggerate is there waiting to greet you outside his house. If you talk to him, you get these dialogues. First, as you head up towards the meteorite, "Hiya, buddy. The meteorite fell and went boom. It was a real mess for a while. I also want to tell you, whoops, I almost told you about my... Oh, by the way, Ness, did you see my billboard?" Then, after that, as you're making your way back down the mountain with Buzz, "Ness, buddy, I have something to tell you, and only you. Come visit me later alone." So before we've learned about Starman Jr., and presumably before the meteorite has even landed, Liar unearths something. By the time dawn breaks, before you've even gone into town, returning to Liar's house will prompt him to finally tell you what he's found. Inside his house, you will follow him down a ladder into the middle of a shack. At the bottom, he leads you through a series of caves that lead north. Before the two of you enter the cave of his discovery, he tells you, "Ness, buddy, I found some proof of great treasure. I'll show you, but you're the only one." You enter the last cave, and for the first time, you see the Manny Manny statue. Liar states, "If this is a sign of what lies below, I just need a little time. My destiny is to find and dig up buried treasure. Go home now, you may start to get greedy thoughts." When examining the statue, it tells us that it's glowing strangely, and the "Remember This" music plays. So at this point in the game, we know 2 things. Liar is a creep, especially in how much he mentions how he eats garlic. And the Manny Manny statue has been buried underground for quite some time, judging by the size of the cave that was dug. We'll come back to that part later. Now this is mostly visual timeline events we're going to talk about coming up, so I will try to depict them like so. Phase 1. From here, Ness defeats Frank, gets the key to the city, finds his first sanctuary, makes his way to Tucson. As for the Manny Manny statue, Liar sells the statue to the carpenter, who alongside Porky kidnap Paula and lock her up in a cabin, with the intentions of killing her as a human sacrifice. That's Phase 1. Phase 2. Ness finally reaches Happy Happy Village, saves Paula, travels to 3. Meanwhile, the Manny Manny is stolen by Everdread. Porky leaves Happy Happy Village, and Paula is rescued, of course, and joins the team. The next phase, Ness makes his way through 3 in the desert, Manny Manny is stolen by Monotoli, Porky travels to Fourside with his family. Phase 4, Ness arrives in Fourside, Manny Manny is now stored in a cafe, and he creates Moonside. Porky works for Monotoli now, and Paula gets kidnapped by Monotoli, the owner of the statue. Finally, Phase 5, Ness destroys the Manny Manny statue, Porky flees town, and Paula is released by her captor, whom has come to his senses. Those are the events in the game through the first 4 major cities we travel through. There's no argument. That is what happened in the main storyline. But let's examine the events of the Manny Manny more specifically, and try to understand just what exactly was transpiring during the odd journey of this statue. So for one, the Manny Manny statue is buried below the ground, seemingly for no reason. We'll cover that later. 2. Time passes and Liarax unearths the statue in his dig for treasure. 3. Liar, searching to capitalize on his treasure, sells it to Carpainter. 4. Carpainter becomes brainwashed by the statue and becomes a cult leader, very specifically kidnapping Paula, teaming up with Porky, and coercing dozens of people to follow his views. 5. When Carpainter is defeated, the influence of the statue is broken, but before Manny Manny can be destroyed, it is stolen by Everdread. 6. Everdread steals it and travels to Fourside, where Monotoli then steals the statue. 7. The Manny Manny statue begins to corrupt Monotoli, and when Ness and his friends get to town, Paula is very specifically kidnapped again. And 8. While Paula is kidnapped, Ness and Jeff become influenced by the statue, but ultimately are able to locate and then destroy it. All those details that led through the Manny Manny statue's process is spelled out by NPC dialogue or other resources from the game code. But the process opens a few questions, like how did the Manny Manny statue get buried at Benonette? Did the statue have something to do with Gygas? Why was Paul the only one kidnapped by the statue multiple times? And finally, what made the statue so powerful? Now listen, believe me or not, I have all of those answered. At the beginning of this video, you saw a depiction of what I think happened. But before I fully explain what went on, I first have to discuss time travel. Now, sorry to break it to you, class, but time travel itself is not real. We don't know how to traverse through space-time, but fortunately for you, we have some knowledge of what the process would look like. I will try to handle this concept quickly so we can get right into how it was applied. Dimensions are a way of measuring things or quantifying specific physical measurement. We're all pretty familiar with 1 dimension, which is a line, 2 dimensions being square, 3 dimensions being a cube. Pretty simple. Pretty easy to conceive. Well, when we refer to the 4th dimension, we are talking about how that 3-dimensional item is placed relative to time. Let's refer to my last video where I discussed the 4th dimension. The 4th dimension is time, but in correlation with the 3 fields appearing throughout the line of time. I'll show you an example. Say you come up against a wall blocking your path. It's too high to climb and too long to go around. If you travel along the 4th dimension, however, which is time, then you can move to a time on that 4th dimensional plane where that wall didn't exist, walk to where the opposite side would eventually be, and then move back along the 4th dimensional plane, standing in that same 3-dimensional space, and when you return to the start point, you will be on the other side of the wall. Now in a nutshell, the physical location isn't different, just when you are there, that's changed. But if, for example, you have created a time machine and you are jumping to a different point along that 4th dimension, you have a few other factors that play in. You see, the Earth rotates around the Sun, that's a year, duh, but the Sun is also revolving around the center of the solar system, which is traveling away from the center of the universe, meaning that if you create a time machine and launch, say, 10 years into the past, the physical location that you were intending to arrive would not be the exact same location in the past. It would be over there, or there maybe, or somewhere floating in space somewhere. I'm not going to go into the equation of how it plugs in, so trying to calculate a location of a globe spinning 1,000 miles per hour while it revolves around the Sun at 67,000 miles per hour, which is moving, give or take 1.3 million miles per hour. Pinpointing that location has its margin of error, to put simply. If I haven't lost you in the science lesson, here's where the sum up is. You ready? Well, Buzz and Starman Jr. are now traveling through time to a known point in a vessel of some sorts, presumably like this one, or something similar. A vessel with mechanics and advanced science. We know that because Buzz came to Ness's specific location and Starman landed less than a mile away. That would be impossible without proper means. Now, and this lesson will be a little shorter, I promise, but the 5th dimension is another factor that plays into time travel. Here's an example from an old video.
The fifth dimension is simplified in a lot of sci-fi movies as being alternative universes, fourth dimensions that lay in the right angle to our fourth dimension. Think of it like in Back to the Future. When Biff gets the almanac and Doc shows how the timelines have skewed, those would be two parallel sets of fourth dimensions if both 1985 scenarios were happening at the same time, oblivious to each other. Rick and Morty is all about time traveling across the fifth and fourth dimensions as well.
Now I know it seems like we're getting pretty far away from the Manny Manny statue, so here's the connection. Magicant is a parallel dimension happening during the Earthbound game. We see this from this other snippet from my last video. Now this isn't lazy writing, damn it. I wrote this part for the last video and frankly I think I did a pretty good job, so whatever.
Magicant is a realm that is thought to be contained inside Ness's subconscious. Once he visits all 8 sanctuary spots, he loses consciousness and is transported to it. So how could it be possible for someone else to see a phone designed from someone else's subconscious? Well, simple enough. It's not a subconscious at all, but another dimension. It's even stated in the game. Magicant is the realm of the mind. Not a mind, singular, but the mind. Magicant is a dimension that has countless variations.
I go into great detail on proving that Magicant is dimension rather than a dream or illusion, but you can watch the full breakdown here. Inside Magicant, we learn that Ness's nightmare, which is at the center of his Magicant, is a representation of the evil part of Ness's mind, and we must defeat it in order to overcome his evil side. And Ness's nightmare looks identical to the Manny Manny statue. So here are all the things that we know now. Magicant is a dimension parallel to Earthbound's. An entity meant to represent Ness's evil side lays within that parallel dimension. Buzz and Starman Jr. equip the proper equipment, traverse space-time, and in order to traverse space-time, you need to have crossed the fifth dimension. But there's more. I believe that while racing to warn Ness of his destiny and traversing the planes of space-time, Buzz and Starman Jr. crossed over Magicant, Ness's Magicant, and in doing so created a rift that pulled that part of Ness that represents evil and brought it to the timeline where the game begins. And since Ness's nightmare was not part of the vessel equipped with the means of calculating where and when to arrive, it arrives in Eagleland, buried beneath the ground before the meteorite shows up, waiting to be unearthed. Wait, there's even more. The last bit of information that answers all the questions. Did the statue have something to do with Gygas? No, it was all Ness. Gygas knew of Ness. He knew about Buzz went to stop Ness, and that's why Starman Jr. was sent after Buzz. But who defeats Gygas? Who is the only character you need to beat the game? Without this character, there is literally no way of winning. It's Paula. Gygas knows Ness will lead the charge to defeat him, but without Paula, Ness and Gygas would just be battling forever and ever. Trust me, that's a fact. You could look it up in the game code. Ness knows, well, at least the evil part of him, the part that has seen across space-time and caught a glimpse of the end. So the evil part of Ness, which is now represented by a physical piece of treasure which was buried in the ground, waited to be unearthed by a weak-minded person, then was sold to an influential person who will then use that statue to kidnap a seamlessly innocent 11-year-old girl and have her sacrificed to stop the ending of the world where she defeats Gygas. And when that plan fails, it moves to another, more influential person to try to do the exact same thing. Something that was thought to be a haunted statue dug up in Onett had a much bigger existence. It was a gold idol, an entity of evil that haunts Ness's subconscious, which represents the evil side of Ness, and was able to create the illusions of Moonside and corrupt the minds of powerful men. The Manny Manny statue. I wonder if Buzz would have changed things had he known what he had brought into existence, the possibility that he would fail because of his own actions. Maybe he would have lived longer to fight along Ness during the game, but that's a video for a different time. Next time you play through Earthbound, remember the hidden subplot of the statue that changed the timeline. Thanks for watching. Cool guys, I appreciate you sitting through that video. If you want to see more videos like this, you gotta let me know in the comments. If you have some critiques to my story, if you have some questions, you want me to clarify some things, by all means, please put those down in the comments. I'd really appreciate it. And again, if you want to see more videos like this, go right ahead and click the subscribe button. I like making these, they're fun. I like wrapping my mind around possibilities of weird things that could potentially happen in games that are already determined, especially old games like this. Earthbound's a big fave. All right, done chatterboxing. Well, guys, talk to you soon. Fuzzy Pickles.